Just started a second ago, so you haven't missed out on anything important. I mentioned one of the main things. The synagogue is the largest synagogue in Europe, second largest synagogue in the world. Give me just a second. I have a problem with my boss, so I'm going to time myself how fast I do my tours. They say I'm doing it too fast. Just give me a moment. I'm going to time myself so I don't get in trouble this time. I just got my head screaming off of me, and I don't like to be screamed at. It's no good. Timer, start, go. There we go. We have half an hour. Okay. So I mentioned that the synagogue in New York had 5,000 seats, the one in Budapest 3,500, 1,750 on each floor. The synagogue was built between the years 1854 to 1859. 5 years of construction built by the great architect first Ludwig. Born in Germany, raised in Austria in the city of Vienna. He is not Jewish. It doesn't mean that he does not belong to any other religion within those days. I know that for a lot of people, when you first walk into the synagogue, your feeling is like you just stepped inside of a Catholic church. Anyone?
Yes, it is.
Ma, quando vamos a Knesset?
It looks like a basilica.
What reminds you of a basilica?
I have first degree in art history.
So
all
tell
the
me
instructions
what
is
reminds you of a church? One thing in the house.
the plan.
Anything? Anyone? The main Catholic thing in the house, and the only thing, what is that? The organ.
Ah, okay.
No.
Okay.
The only thing that reminds of a Catholic church are the pulpits on the left and on the right. The pulpit with the small stairs on the side, these exist in church. That's where the priest and preacher go up Sunday morning after prayer and preach the daily word. We're Jews, we're not Catholic, we're a synagogue, we're not a church. We have a rabbi, not a priest. We have a cantor, not a preacher. We have a Saturday, not a Sunday. What is the pulpit doing in the house? The organ is the oldest Jewish element in Judaism. The first and second temple, the second temple was destroyed 1,945 years ago. We have an organ, we play music. The book of Psalms, chapter 150 says, "B'minim v'ugav yahalu." We play in an organ music in the temple. Before we get into this element, let's try to understand how come the synagogue was built in this very special, beautiful design, but on the other hand, totally against Jewish biblical studies, which say small and simple, nothing large and beautiful as this house. Beauty is 20 karat of gold, 45 kilos. The gold is in the back, up on the top, and of course, on the ark in the middle. This is only plated gold. Synagogue was built in a very special, beautiful design of Mori Basilic. Everybody over here for English? Why don't you guys come over and sit down? You sure? Okay. Mori is the mosaic Spanish Arabic floor in the middle and on the side. Basilica room, the ceiling up on the top, which has no drawings of humans, angels, and of animals. It's the ceiling of a Jewish synagogue, not of a church. Turkish design, the dome on top of the ark, 4 domes on top of the building. I'm not going to say that 100% reminds of a church, but 65% does remind something from inside the design of a Catholic temple. Synagogue, back to the pulpits on the left and on the right. Imagine that the year is 1858. Holiday is Yom Kippur, the date is September 9th. 3,500 people come to service in the synagogue. People sitting in the back won't be able to follow the voice of chief cantor standing all the way up front. Therefore, secondary to cantor on your right, secondary to cantor on your left. They pray out loud so people in the back could follow throughout service. If it's not good enough, we have an assistant cantor that his job is to say out loud what's the number of the page of the book that we are using at services. All this is nice and good for 1858. The year is 2013, last September, Yom Kippur, 11,500 people at services in the synagogue. Rabbi says, welcome to the 21st century. If people in the back cannot follow his voice, what's the point to come? And if they did, today we have speakers on the left and the right of the ark. Oy everybody comes screaming, Rabbi, what are you out of your mind? He had speakers on high holidays in synagogue. It's muktzah, forbidden, illegal, against Jewish biblical studies. not allowed within religion. How could you do this to 11,500 people at services? Rabbi says, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Neolog Judaism. Neologe, the new word within Jewish biblical studies. Far away from the Orthodox, far away from the Reform. I'll give an example just in a moment. Rabbi says, Neolog, 11,500 people at services. If people in the back cannot follow, what's the point to come? And if they did, there's no problem using speakers throughout prayer. The bigger question is, how do you put in 11,500 people to a 3,500-seater house? 750 chairs between the 4 rows, 8 doors get opened up, thousands of people stand on the square outside and listen to services from inside of the synagogue. Does anyone of you know what the name of the square is up front? The square is called Benjamin Ze'ev Theodor Herzl Square. Why? Herzl was the forefather of the state of Israel, forefather of Zionism. He was born in 1860 at the next door. Since 1931, the next door is called the Jewish Museum. Since 1945, the Holocaust Museum. Herzl's bar mitzvah, at the age of 13, in 1873, was right over here in the big synagogue. Neolog Judaism. What would be the definition of Neolog to Orthodox, Neolog to Reform? Ladies, when you go to service in an Orthodox Jewish synagogue, you know that you sit upstairs behind curtains, what we call the ladies section. If by any chance you get to sit on the bottom, then you're sitting behind dark curtains on the side. In Reform Judaism, we sit mixed together as you're sitting right now. Neolog comes to teach us a very simple thing. Friday, Saturday, 350 to 500 people. Ladies sit in the outside rows, men sit in the inner. Wife, girlfriend over here, husband or boyfriend over here. So we're not extremely separated as the Orthodox, but neither are we open-minded as the Reformed community. The galleries upstairs get opened up only on high holidays when the main floor is fully packed. And then ladies sit godling on outside, men godling coming inside of the synagogue. The benches that you're sitting on had their 154th birthday on September 6th of last year. They've been here since 1858. First World War, based in the synagogue. Second World War, side of the building. These name plackets have a very important explanation, but before I get to that, Friday, Saturday, and high holidays, you're more than welcome to sit wherever you like. Back, front, up, and down. The only place you cannot sit is the left and the right of the ark. Those are seats of honorable people of the Jewish community. The names come to teach us that families came in the last 10 years and said, either a member of a family was sitting here in the last 150-something years, or a member of a family died in the Holocaust. We would like to buy the seat in the memory, donate the money community to the synagogue, put a placard with their name. Anyone sitting here and praying here would honor, remember, and respect the person that the seat was bought in their memory. Synagogue, the 2 chandeliers on top of you, these are replicates. They're not the originals. They were made out of gold, stolen by the Germans on January 18 of 1945. These arrived only in the last 10 years, exactly 21 years ago. Today, they're made out of steel. They weigh 1.5 tons each one of them, 124 light bulbs in each chandelier. They're hanged by machinery cables that bring them down twice a year to the height of the bench to get cleaned and changed New Year's Eve, and of course, on Passover and New Year's Eve. The Jewish New Year's Eve falls in September. Passover is going to be in mid-April, exactly 20-something days from today. Behind the red curtain is the holy closet. In the closet we have the books of the Old Testament, the Bible, in Hebrew called the Torah. In English, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the books of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. In the Hebrew language, Bereshit, Shmot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and the 5th book, Chumash Devarim, the book of Moses. When I say the book of Moses, it means that he actually wrote the book. Could that be possible? The answer is no. Moses has written the verse that says the next thing. I, Moses, on February 7th, climbed up a mountain, died there, and nobody knows where I was buried. So the only way how to explain that verse is that he wrote it in prophecy that was given to him by God, and therefore it's called the book of Moses. 28 scrolls of the Bible, which most of them are between 120 to 150 years old. That means it survived 2 world wars. Usually synagogues in Israel, UK, and the US and around the world have anywhere between 7, 9, 11, 15 at the max. 28 is a very large amount of number. Most of them are between 120 to 150 years old. That means survived 2 world wars. Second World War, thousands of them were burned, ripped apart, and thrown away by the SS throughout the war. One of the things that triggered Second World War, in 1938, Kristallnacht, when 1,657 Torahs, Bibles, holy books, and synagogues were burned, ripped apart, and disgraced by the SS. In the case of the synagogue, the Torahs, the Bibles, together with the windows of the house, were put into sacks of sand, buried underneath National Hungarian Museum. In October of 23rd, 1956, they were pulled back into the spots with no harm or damage done neither to the Bibles or to the windows throughout the war. One of those Bibles are up at the Jewish Museum. It was damaged by water. 2 of them at the Hero Synagogue, which we'll see on the tour on the outside. Any questions before I go on to Second World War? Any questions about Judaism, religious at the big building before I continue on Second World War, please? No. See, my boss told me 10 minutes ago, if nobody asks questions, I'm probably doing something wrong at work. איזה צרחות קיבלתי מקודם? אתה מדבר מהר מדי. It's very fast. It's English. It's me.
It's a fast English.
It's a fast English. You want to study English? Yeah?
By the way, a very big question.
There you go. You see? It usually takes a couple of moments of a break till you... Yeah, go ahead.
This is quite big. What is the main difference, the really mean, if you want to describe in few words, between the Catholics and
Between
the Roman Catholic
Catholic Church and Judaism. Should I say in one sentence? You need an HPD for that, yeah. But I'll do it with only history. Let's put it this way. Terach, the father of Abraham. In his backyard, he had 700 statues made out of stone. He says to his little child, Abraham, go cook for the gods. Abraham says to his father, the gods? He says, yeah, the 700 statues in the backyard. Abraham says to him, and they eat? He says, yes. This is Bible, not biblical studies, it's pure Bible. Terach gets a problem one day, and he says to his son Abraham, help me out. You know what Abraham told him? If the statues could eat, they could solve you your problems. And then God came to Abraham in his dream, and he told him, Anochi Hashem Elokecha lo yeh lecha elokim acherem al panai. The first commandment of the 10 Commandments, God said to Abraham in his dream, I am your only God, do not have any other gods besides me. Abraham told this to Terach, his father. His father told him, you're an hangover, you're nuts. Abraham took a stick and he broke every single statue in the backyard. And he said to his father, if these are real gods, how come they don't protect themselves? Okay? We're speaking about God, not Judaism, not Israelites, not Catholic Church. Okay? Years go by and Abraham gives birth, his wife gives birth to their son, Isaiah and Yishmael. Isaiah gets to be sacrificed. Instead of sacrificing him, there's an animal. Years go by, and Isaiah gives birth to Jacob. Years go by, Jacob gives birth to the 12 tribes. Okay? By the time the 12 tribes were born, there was a God and there were Israelites. Judaism didn't exist yet. Okay? Ishmael's mother asked Jacob, what's going to happen to my son? He said to her, the world is going to split to 2. Ishmael is going to be the father of the Arabs, and Isaiah is going to be the father of what's called the sons of Israelite, the picked nation by God. Okay? I'm going to skip a good couple of thousand years, and we get to the second internal temple, which was destroyed 1,945 years ago. There was a Jewish, religious, biblical philosopher and studier. His name was Yehoshua ben Parchiah. You know him by the name of Jesus Christ.